House Republicans are freezing out the FBI and the Justice Department, denying a request to share a memo claiming surveillance abuses during the Obama administration. The lawmakers say those agencies have been stonewalling demands for information related to their Russia investigations. Our next guest tweeting, the thousands of texts Trey Gowdy and I reviewed today revealed manifest bias among top FBI officials against Donald Trump. The text between Strzok and Page reference a secret society. Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe is a Republican on the Homeland Security Committee and the Judiciary Committee. Thank you for joining me today. The FBI, would you like for them to be able to see what you've seen in the memo that Congressman Nunes put together?
I do think that the FBI will have an opportunity to see that. There's a process that's never been used before to release the memo that was prepared by the House Intelligence Committee, and we're working through steps. As you know, there's been considerable interest in releasing the contents of that memo. I am, for one, always concerned about weaponizing classified information. And anytime we're using a process that's never been used before, I do think we need to move carefully. And I have confidence in Chairman Nunes and others involved in approaching that in an appropriate way.
Do you know if the memo has been shared with the White House?
I don't know that. I do know that it's been available to members of Congress. Republicans have been in to see it. Not many Democrats have. But beyond that, I don't know who's had access to it or whether or not it's been shared with the administration.
Yeah, I think I read that only 10 Democrats had decided to go and read that. So about the text that you saw yesterday, so there's a little bit going back and forth around this. If you don't mind, listen to Judge Andrew Napolitano this morning talking about it.
The government owns the mobile device. The government owns the information and the data that's on it. Did they destroy or hide government data? This is the same allegation that they let Mrs. Clinton off the hook.
Do you think that there was any malfeasance in the loss of these text messages, or is it innocent and technical?
I don't know, Dana. It's certainly possible that it was innocent and that it was technical. The problem is, it is a strange coincidence that it involves a period of time and text that relate to the Mueller investigation. And when you layer that on other strange and unfortunate coincidences, like the same agents appearing in investigations involving Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton that have an extreme bias against Donald Trump and for Hillary Clinton, those things really would cause any reasonable person to question the objectivity of the folks involved.
Senator Ron Johnson this morning was on Brian Kilmeade's show discussing the text. Listen to this.
There's so much smoke here. There's so much indication of, unbelievable corruption at some of with some individuals, the highest levels of the FBI. We deserve answers.
One of the texts that he told Brian about was that Strzok was saying that there's no there when it comes to the allegations of Russian collusion. So in some ways, I guess finding some of these texts and getting more information actually could help the Trump administration.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a real question here. When you look at these texts in aggregate, there's just an alarming level of bias involving a couple of folks that were central to these investigations. So I do think that it's important that we continue to investigate, and I think it really it validates what we're trying to do in this investigation to get answers to these questions, because there's so much here that's troubling. Bias is one thing, but acting on bias is another. And I can tell you, Dana, that having gone through all of these text messages, there's more than just bias. There's an expressed intent to act upon that. When someone says, we need to finish the job, we need to fix what we weren't able to do, that's troubling. And so we need to continue down the path that we're on.
I know one thing that your background in law enforcement and all that you've done for our country, working as a U.S. attorney, is so impressive. And so in some ways, I think of what you did then as an investigator and a prosecutor is similar to what people do as spokespeople, which is I never like to go out in public as a spokesperson unless I felt like I had all the information all at once. And I'm curious if you think that if the memo is released to the public, would you also support the president declassifying the FISA applications that were underlying it so that we have all the information all at once and it can get out beyond this partisanship and the weaponizing, as you said, of this information?
Yeah, so to that point, Dana, it's a great point. And, we talk about completeness. We always ask a jury to listen to every witness and to look at every document. And the memo is a summary by very intelligent, but still just a summary of staff members at the House Intelligence Committee. I haven't seen the actual documents, the FISA application in question, so I don't know what parts of it they've summarized. So I certainly, before I weaponized classified information by declassifying it to the public, as you know, Dana,
just be careful
when
with
something's classified as top secret, it means it presents a grave national security threat if made available to the public. So we have to be very careful about how we move forward. So I'd sure like to see the actual documents themselves as opposed to a very well-written memo.
I agree. All right, Congressman John Ratcliffe, thank you so much for being here.